as a kid, growing up in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, where I come from, my mother told me a story when I was about 5 years, when I was in Standard 5, and I was about 12 years old. And I went ahead to illustrate that story. I made a comic out of it. And then I also went ahead, I sold that comic to a friend, a very good friend of mine, for about 15 shilling. Needless to say, I invested very wisely in that money. In donuts and fried cassava. And if you are to fast forward that story, in 1992, when I was a student of architecture at Art Institute in Dar, I won a competition, which was organized by Daily Nation. So I traveled, I took a bus from Dar to Nairobi, where I also thought I can come collect my money and invest wisely again. I came to Daily Nation. I actually came second in that competition, but when I came to Daily Nation, I convinced the editors that I can take over, a job of an editorial cartoonist, which was left behind by my good friend Mad, who had gone to the Standard. They later agreed, and I started working as an editorial cartoonist then. And so when I got in 92, one thing I would like to say is I came in fresh, things were changing, and a lot is said about all these lovely words about, changing this and that. But the truth of the matter is I came in at a time when things were changing. I came in and I was given a platform where I could express myself, and as a new young man, I just could draw cartoons, and my editors were all, what are you thinking about? But then, yes, I was given that opportunity, and that's one thing that has been great, to start on a completely new platform. So in 92, of course, as you all know, that you had the Section 2 of the Constitution was thrown out. You had the so-called wind of change blowing across Africa, not only in Kenya, and it was easy for me to do the stuff that I did then. And of course, then the president, you all know that you could not touch certain people. You could actually, we started, for example, drawing the President Daniel Arap Moi by drawing him from the back, and then slowly trying to turn him around when they found himself, So yes, I think that was my start. The idea of being an editorial cartoonist is, of course, to speak the unspoken, is to say things that many people probably would not say. And when you do that, of course, you offend people. But it's a craft that has the license to offend people. And you do that sometimes at your own risk, because you don't know how people are going to react. So yes, there is a certain kind of risk which you need to do. And some of these drawings you've seen, actually, I did, like this particular one, I actually went behind my editors and I sneaked them for them to be published, because they were very uncomfortable sometimes with the drawing that I did. You can imagine, this is the famous Mama Lucy, on top of the president. And I think many of you are aware of the concept of a woman sitting on top of her husband. You know what that means, of course. So these are not things that you would always, that will be received nicely by not only your editors, but of course by the authority. Yes, there is, growing up in Dar, again, I came very close. I acquired close knowledge with the IMF and the World Bank. And I think I just could not find a better way of illustrating the abuse of power, so you will have to. That was the former Wolfowitz. And so it is always a challenge as an editorial cartoonist. If I'm going to do, how many people I'm going to offend? What are they going to say? And sometimes you even go home and even your own wife, I said, what were you thinking? So it's not a very, a very good position to be most of the time. Of course, when you're dealing with power, as I said, you say the things that are unspeakable. And you can imagine that. I mean, all my Zimbabwean friends have always told me that, you have to wait for Mugabe to die or retire. Then you can visit Zimbabwe. And I totally agree with them. I don't think I would like to visit Zimbabwe in any hurry. Now, speaking truth to power, or as you all call it, is involve also attacking taboos, our traditional beliefs, and a lot of other things, religious groups and so forth. I remember doing this drawing in 2005, long before the Danish cartoons. And I think Muslim leaders really condemned these cartoons, and actually they organized demonstrations. They wanted to organize demonstrations from Jamia Mosque to Nation. So the only condition they gave Nation is for Nation to apologize on its front page, which they did. And I also got quite a number of threatening, emails, death threats, telling you that we will get you. So you can imagine that kind of situation, and they had actually told me to remove the drawing from my website and so forth. So it can get a little bit scary at times. The only thing about that drawing is that I know that, for example, we all know this, that if male suicide bombers get 72 virgins, then female bombers are entitled to something. I just did not know what that was. So I was just gender sensitive and trying to ask very good questions. Again, issues like homosexuality, these are issues that are not received very well. These are issues that when you comment, and most of the time, this is very important, satire and cartooning is not about necessarily being right or wrong. And I think most of the time people will write letters and call me and say, you are wrong. And it's about also provoking debate. It's about saying things that people are afraid to say. It's about, let's have a discussion about this. Talking about wasted world, what about wasted brains? We've seen now a huge form of extremism today, and we've seen a lot of young people getting swallowed in. And I think, in my view, these are some of the issues that we need really to discuss. Again, we were all celebrating when we had the fiber optic, introduced. We were very happy, but our world is so interconnected. There are a lot of other things that we need to understand, and simply raising our hands and cheering does not actually help us. Now, in 2008, we had a crisis, or did we? Of course, which led again to the coalition government, which actually led us to the ICC, and which actually led us to Hague, where we took our unit there and left our impunity home. So these are questions that we need to ask ourselves. I suppose I'm in a privileged position. I always say this. I have a platform where I can say these things. But I also do believe that we can always raise our voices to challenge some of these things. And I think we should be able to listen to each other about many of these issues. So lately, again, we have seen that a lot of gains that Kenya got from in civil society, the media, parliament, they are under threat in one way or another. And I think one of the things that I've always, as as an individual, try to do is really to protect these gains. Because I think as a Tanzanian living in Kenya, and I've traveled throughout this continent, I think Kenya is a very privileged country in terms of actually the freedoms that we have and what we can do. And I think it is very important that actually these gains are protected. These gains should be reclaimed and nobody actually should threaten them. Of course, today we can't say anything without discussing China. And so the president came back from China with a loan the other day, but I think it's important to question some of these loans. I did, so you had the Chinese president there telling the president that, look, a loan is not a gift. I did a presentation recently at the University of Wisconsin in Madison, and there was a Chinese student at the back who showed up, and she said, "I do not know that Chinese proverb." So I didn't expect that. I did not expect that. So I owned up to that. I said, actually, there is no such Chinese proverb. I just made it up. In my craft, you can do stuff like that. You can make up stuff. And I later learned that I think it's a Bulgarian, actually, proverb. So I think it is important, yes, to question, some of these things. Of course, we have discovered oil in Turkana. I must say my drawing has then been overtaken by events because after these drawings, actually, we discovered water in Turkana. So it is, again, you're talking of wasted world, but also you talk about, wasted resources, and we know the cost of oil. And I think, again, these are very important questions that we should always be asking. We have seen, actually, a lot of foreigners coming, in not only in Kenya, but also in Africa, where they are buying land. And so land also, we know how emotive as an issue it is. And in this project, in this particular cartoon, I think I was asking a question that, is that something that we are comfortable with? Because we always hear communique or statements about certain things and we wonder. Of course, we rebased our economy recently because the middle class has grown quite largely. And when you talk about the wasted world, I'm always interested in, about that. I think it's a topic for me as a satirist, as an editorial cartoonist. I'm always interested. And so this is actually a very normal occurrence these days, whereby you have a family with 7, a number of cell phones and all sorts of gadgets. And at the same time that, we have to look at what kind of house that we're living. And so I made up a house full of tribalism, corruption, and so forth. Now, as an editorial cartoonist, I work largely on my own. I take my drawings to my editors. They have the right to reject and tell me off or publish them. But also, I'm an animator and a television producer. And one of the shows that we produce at Ibuni Media, a company that I co-founded with my producer and my co-founder, Marie Laura Mungai, a brilliant producer that I've been working with since 2009. We produce a show, or XYZ, which is a puppet show in the veins of the Spitting Image, for those who come from UK, and Les Guignols in France. And the idea was pretty much the same, that a show that would speak about what is happening, a current affair show that would speak to us, that would challenge issues, that would raise questions. And so the XYZ show has been running for 5 years now. We are doing our 10th season. And we'll probably see a bit of a clip.
Previously on Prison Break.
Open Cell A, another African gangster coming through.
Unafanya nini hapa kijana? Nani anachunga chama? Unafanya nini hapa? Wewe hapa tu hapa.
Nani yeye alitaka tuende Hague. Pumbavu. Ona sasa.
Mimi nimwambie kijana. Mimi kijana ni namna gani?
Ndiyo, mimi nilitaka watu wapelekwe Hague, lakini ilikuwa watu wale wengine, sio mimi. Sasa nataka watu wapelekwe TJRC, yani Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission. Sasa hiyo ndio watu watusamehe. Tunataka tusamehewe kwanza hapa na Mr. Ocampo, turudishwe nyumbani tuende huko pia tukasamehewe, alafu tuendelee na campaign.
Me, I'm not supposed to be here. They must have made a computer error or human error or it was a typing error, some kind of a typing error.
As I said, as an editorial cartoonist, I work largely on my own. But with Buni Media, in producing, for example, XYZ, we have a team of 80 individuals. We have a brilliant team of people. And I work largely with this team in producing. And it is 24/7 of working out in writing and recording and so forth. And quite frankly, it's quite a huge task. Now, Buni Media also has been trying to produce other thought-provoking products that would hopefully inspire other young people. It's a very, for those in the film industry, you know this, it's a long journey. But I think as a producer, as a satirist, we are talking of the Western world. One of the things that probably I would also like to mention is that I feel also quite wasted at times and frustrated. And the reason is I don't do this so that people just can laugh. And I believe that, in my own way, and we as an organization, we can make a contribution to what is happening in Kenya. But I also ask myself quite a number of times if actually whatever I do actually is making any difference. I would like to believe that it does. And the challenge is always that, what changes that have I seen actually? That is always, that gets me worried because I look at, if you look at all that, what we've done, whether it's Buni Media and Buni and my drawings, is that today we still have nobody has been nobody has been probably put in for the corruption cases. If you look at the major corruption cases that I've commented over the years. That I have, we have said, and nobody actually, no action has been taken. So I expect, as an individual, that whatever I do would lead into something. Whatever I do, that probably it will create change. And I think that's also where I say that sometimes I feel that my efforts are also wasted. I do believe that there is actually a lot to be done, and I'm making my own contribution to that. But the challenge is not for also editorial cartoonists as a whole. I think in Kenya today, we have largely these freedoms. The challenge, I think, is for every one of us sitting here, that all these issues that are confronting us, how are we actually tackling them? How are we making a contribution? Because we tend sometimes to laugh, and we know how to laugh, and then leave it at that. We did actually had President Kenyatta, President Kibaki, Prime Minister Raila Odinga, and Deputy President Ruto in jail in The Hague, I think in 2010. Long before people started talking about it, people were murmuring about it. But in a show, we actually did that. And But what has happened since then? I mean, nothing really has happened. So it's a challenge, I think it's a challenge for everyone, that when we are confronted by these issues, when we are talking about wasted world, and when we are saying that we need to reclaim what this nation is all about, I think it is also a challenge for everybody. Thank you very much.